Thank you for joining us and welcome to Business Incorporated. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwawu. Today on the show, Ivory Coast and Toyota sign vehicle assembly plant deal. Tanzania's National Bank of Commerce hit with fine over data rule breach. Plus, have you heard of the business of taxidermy in Africa? A taxidermist is helping to preserve South Africa's $39 million business. Well, let's get the show started with the markets, and the South African rand reiterated early on Friday, giving back some of the previous day's gains ahead of a data-packed session as sentiment toward emerging market assets continue to lean towards negative outcomes. Now, looking at the equities markets here on the African continent, of course, we saw the market looking set to close the month of August in the green. At intraday, the NSE index here in Nigeria was up 0.18%. The JSE index was also trading higher, up 1.19% ahead of a data-packed session, even as sentiment towards emerging market assets continue to lean towards negative outcomes. And investors will scan local trade figures for July for the impact of the Sino-US trade war. Monthly budget balance figures are also due out. Egypt is also closed today, but ended August on Thursday in the green, up 1.78%. Kenya closed positive as well on Thursday. In the Middle East, markets are closed on Friday. However, Saudi stocks were down on Thursday, extending losses for the second straight session, pressured by banking shares as receding fund inflows continued to keep investors at bay, while other major Gulf markets rose. On Wednesday, a second batch of Saudi shares was added to the MSCI Emerging Markets Index, but the move failed to lift the market as funds remain bearish. Now, the Saudi index fell 1.85%, with Bank Saudi Fransi declining 1.1% and Saudi Basic Industries losing 0.4%. In Qatar, the index increased 2.07%, led by a 2% rise in lender Masraf Al Rayan and a 1.4% gain in Industries Qatar. And the Dubai Financial Markets General Index was up 0.3%, helped by financial stocks. Dubai Islamic Bank, the United Arab Emirates' largest Sharia-compliant lender, and Dubai Investments both were up 0.8%. Abu Dhabi's index also rose 0.72%, largely driven by Emirates Telecommunications, which was up 0.6%. In Europe, stocks made gains on Friday morning after China struck an accommodating tone over its trade war with the U.S., while British opposition lawmakers plan to trigger an emergency debate to prevent a no-deal Brexit. For these and more, let's bring in Ashutosh now. Hello, Ashutosh. Good afternoon. Well, Ashutosh, if you can hear me, Asian equities were boosted by renewed optimism on the trade front. How are the European markets performing?
Well, Chimi, it's not any different here in Europe. They've carried on with the momentum that they got yesterday after that announcement from China indicating that they were not going to retaliate immediately to the tariffs, US tariffs that are coming in, kicking in on Sunday. So that optimism has carried on, and then there was this announcement by President Trump when he said that there were talks going on at different levels, although there is no clarity as to who the people involved were, and there is no confirmation also from the Chinese side about this call, but still the markets are just ready to take up any positive news, and they are playing along with it. And at this point of time, that's the desperation, because this US-China trade dispute has been actually a major concern for the markets overall. The global economy has been bearing the brunt of this trade dispute between the world's largest economies, and that's the reason why you see that there is so much desperation that any positive news on this is moving the markets in the way it is.
And markets have been largely waiting for Eurozone's inflation data, as it will play a key role in driving European Central Bank's monetary policy due in September. So what are the numbers saying?
Oh, well, not great there because the inflation is still at 1%, well below the 2% target of the ECB. But that's a reason for the markets to cheer, actually, because they feel that that is going to give further, it's going to further prompt the ECB to actually ease its monetary policy and come up with interest rate cuts and also possibly quantitative easing. But there is a caveat there. The ECB has been actually trying to boost inflation for the past 6 years, but they haven't managed to get it above or anywhere close to that 2% mark. And so there are people who are now doubting whether that's the only approach that people should be looking at to boost inflation in the Eurozone, and or is it the time that even the governments step in with some sort of fiscal stimulus? And perhaps it's going to be both in Eurozone's case.
And the next head of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, has said she would continue with Mario Draghi's monetary easing to lift Eurozone's inflation. How are investors seeing this?
Well, for investors, again, like I said, they really are looking towards a more dovish ECB, and anybody who is continuing what Mario Draghi has been doing for the past few years is a welcome change, because at this point of time, markets really feel that there is a need for a push, and a push in terms of cheap money is definitely going to help the economy. But like I said, there are limitations to even how cheap, how low can you go with the interest rates. They are already in the negative territory, which means that the banks are suffering. They are actually finding it difficult to boost their profits, having to park billions in total with the ECB, even, I mean, they have to pay billions even to park their money with the ECB. So that's been a huge concern. And then there are concerns around how cheap money could create financial bubbles, housing bubbles. It was in a way incentivizing those companies that are inefficient, that are profitless. But at this point of time, the markets are definitely pleased with the fact that perhaps continuing with the monetary easing is the best way forward.
All right, Ashutosh, it's been a beautiful week with you. Now it's time to say thank God it's Friday, and of course, a goodbye to the month of August. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Thank you.